So there we were, my husband and I, sitting in the doctor's office. And they told us, "We are so sorry, but your daughter has a terminal condition called spinal muscular atrophy. It's really similar to ALS. It happens in babies, and there's no cure. She'll be lucky to see her first birthday." So we sat there, felt like the sterile walls were closing in. I looked down at my beautiful 2-month-old baby girl who was so full of life. How could she possibly die? My husband and I knew we had two options. We could have a pity party, cry out, "Why me?" Feel sorry for ourselves, watch her die, turn into bitter, angry old farts. Or we could cherish the time that we had together, however short it might be. And we could try and stay positive and make the most of what we had. I'm happy to tell you that we chose the latter. So as we went home, we prepared for her first surgery. We added a lot of medical equipment to her nursery, and we watched our lives transform into this new normal. We were the first of all of our friends to have a baby, and we were certainly the first of all of our friends to lose a child. Because of that, and because our journey took a turn for, I won't say the worst, but the more difficult, we had a lot of friends who just disappeared. It was too hard for them, it was too painful, fill in the blank with whatever reason you can think of. But we had some amazing friends commit to loving us, family members, and truly even complete strangers who heard about our story and wanted to help. They showed up to love us well, and it made a difference. One of those friends gifted us a portrait session with a professional photographer in Atlanta, and it was one of the most beautiful gifts that I have ever received. Skylar was around 6 months old, and she had these bright, beautiful eyes, and our photographer captured them so well. Throughout that time, we were able to have 3 professional portrait sessions with Skylar. She died at 21 months old. After she died, as you can imagine, it was hard for me to get out of bed. As my husband went back to work, I was in the house by myself because for 2 years, I had been a stay-at-home mom and primary caregiver. And so what would I do with myself? With that raw grief, the pain was really intense, and it was so hard that sometimes I would walk through the house and it felt like my heart was just gonna stop and fall out of my chest. In fact, the first week that Skylar died, I actually had to turn all the photos down in our house because it was like so painful to see those photos and to know that she was gone. But as the days drug on and I pulled myself out of bed thanks to the help of my dog who refused to pee on the floor, I started walking around the house wondering what I was going to do with my time. And I missed my daughter. And I wanted to stare into those beautiful deep blue eyes again. And so one by one, after about a week or so, I would turn the photos back up. And I would get to say hi to her. And I would greet her the way I always did when I walked in the room, which was, "Hey, sweet girl. Good morning, sweet girl." I was able to talk to her, and I was able to cry with her. And what I realized is that photos were such a gift to help me grieve in ways that are not possible with someone else in the room, because there's fear and worry and judgment and expectation that oftentimes people bring into the room, even with the best intentions. So I could sit with the photo and just ugly cry with like snot pouring down my face and not have to worry about whether my friend thought I was gross. I could sit with the photos and talk to her and not worry if my friend thought I was losing my mind. The photos let me hold her when she wasn't here to hold. After realizing what a gift these photos were, I knew I wanted to give that gift to others. And so part of what helped get me out of bed was starting my own photography business. Anytime I heard of anyone facing a terminal diagnosis, I would offer a free portrait session, and I would beg them to take me up on it, and most of them did. So over the years, I volunteered sessions. I really, really love giving gifts. So I would give away prints and artwork and books, and my husband was like, honey, I love you, but please stop giving so much away. We have our own bills to pay, so just, rein it in. And I was like, I love you, I hear you, and I understand, but also this is my purpose. And I've never found such meaningful work before in my life. And so I'm going to keep doing this, and I will find a way. And Love Not Lost was born. As a nonprofit, we've always had a vision to serve people on a national level, to celebrate life, preserve memories, and support people in grief. At first, it was just through portrait sessions and photo albums. We would serve families and show up for them and capture these amazing memories together. And then we'd create a beautiful book, we'd give it to them, and that was our nonprofit. But there was a huge disconnect because I realized that the families we were serving also had a story similar to my own. I wasn't unique. People were dropping off like flies at the mention of a terminal diagnosis. My heart broke because I watched family after family after family tell me how alone and abandoned and unloved they felt, having their community disappear. Well, as I started the nonprofit, I started speaking more. I would attend events. And I had people in the crowd come up to me afterwards and say, hey, my coworker just lost a baby, or hey, my best friend just got diagnosed with cancer, what do I do? And I saw that people genuinely cared, and they genuinely wanted to help, and they just didn't know how. That's a huge problem, because there's so many people feeling alone and unloved and abandoned, yet there were so many people who wanted to help, and they just didn't know how. So, as we've grown, we've started doing grief education and offering resources, and we'll continue to do that. But the most important thing is that the driving question of Love Not Lost is how can we love people better? Because it was people loving us, our friends, our family, and complete strangers who showed up for us with love that brought my husband and I through the darkest time of our life. Loving is grieving, and grieving is healing. In order to heal, we must grieve. In order to grieve, we must feel. In order to feel, we must be present. And being present requires you to be vulnerable. It's really hard to be present. We live in a world where it's so easy to check out, whether it's social media, going to a bar and drinking, whatever it is, it's easy, and I get it. But I want you right now to take a really big, deep breath with me and feel the life in your lungs. Be present. Because it's in the present that we live. And it's in the present that we love. And it's in the present that we experience healing. And the cycle can happen over and over and over again. So my challenge to you is to ask yourself the question, how can I love people better? But start with yourself, because when you're healthy, that's when you can show up for other people grieving. That's when you can hold space for suffering, and you can really show up and love people who are hurting. So how can you love you better first? And then how can I love my spouse better, or my family, or my friends or my coworkers. And it's amazing to see what comes from that. Asking it over and over and over again, never being satisfied with the answer because we can always love people better. So I hope you'll join me in bringing love and healing to the world. Thank you.